did, but I am going to go out that door and go up the stairs to my office. So I will not see you, but I'll see you right here. Oh, goodness. So how are you guys doing? I've had better days, but I am doing better. I'm still congested, but I haven't had fever since Sunday night. Coughing has kind of gone away, so it's just some congestion. You can kind of hear it in my voice still. I can hear it anyway. Do what? Sydney is fine. She went back to work. Drew is going back to work. Melinda has tested positive. She's sick. But she's on, again, she's had it for a few days. She's hopefully on the upside of it. She did text me a while ago and said she's about to cough up a lung. Jerry and Frida have tested negative, but they have had some little symptoms here and there, a little bit of coughing, but nothing major. So I don't know, but so it's not been the greatest fun at my house the last few days, but I wanted to be here tonight, so I sat in my office all day. When everybody come in, I'd put a mask on, or if I left, I'd put a mask on. I hate masks, but that's what we going for a few days, and hopefully by the end of the week I'll be out of that and everything good to go again. But that's where I'm at. Yes, sir. Oh, I don't have a clue. I didn't go anywhere. I have the at-home test, and Saturday, I got home Thursday night from Tennessee. Thursday I came over. Friday I came over here, worked in my office for a little while, did some things. I went home, cut my grass Friday afternoon. Saturday I got up. Wasn't feeling the greatest, but just no big deal. But as the day progressed, Saturday, it just kind of got worse and worse Saturday. And so Saturday night, I took a at-home test. I don't know why. I just thought, let me just see what this nasty is. And, we've got these at-home tests. I'll just use it. So I did, and that second line, it came on quick. And so I was like, oh, grand. Well, Sydney had come home. See, they came home from Japan, and they just thinking that a lot of this was just from travel. It was 14-hour time difference, and so they just jet lag and all, and just feeling bad because of that stuff. But it turns out that 5 people on their team, plus a Japanese pastor, all came down with COVID since this trip. And they just thought it was jet lag when they got back. And so, I went last Wednesday to Sydney's, and I was in her home and in the car and all over and eating dinner and all over the place with them. And so I got their Japanese variant, and so it's been grand. What? Sydney was here. Sydney even came in Friday, and so when I took my test, she was still feeling a little bad, but she came to get her dog because her dog's been at my house for the last month, and so she came in and she was planning on coming to church Sunday. But when I took my test and I was positive, she said, "Well, let me take." So she took one and she was positive. So she got up Sunday morning instead of coming to church and going home after. She just got up Sunday morning and drove home. And so it's been good times around the Walker house, that's for sure. But I am glad to be on this side of it. Glad I am feeling better and everything else. But some announcements just to bring to your attention. Senior adults are still sign-up list that we're keeping out there for a while. We have had, holy cow, 38 people right now that are signed up for this Rudy Theater in November. I have purchased 38 tickets. There are still a few seats available there at the place. The bus will only hold 44 or something like that, so we're going to have a full bus. If we get more than that, somebody will just have to drive or something, but we'll figure that out. We do have that. I have purchased all the tickets because I want to make sure. I'm trying to keep up with what's on the paper out there and what I've purchased. So at any time, if you would like to, if you've signed up and want to go at any time between now and the 1st of November sometime, if you'd like to pay for that ticket, that would be grand. But I have already purchased them so that I could have them available. But there are still some seats available on the ground floor. The whole balcony there is not even, nobody's even sitting up there yet. But all of us are on the ground floor right now, yes. They are $33. That covers the whole ticket and everything. None extra, just the ticket. But that covers that. And all that information's out there. There's still a couple other sign-ups. I was thankful Brother Daniel was able to take a group yesterday down to New Bern. Had a good time with them. He told me some stories. He told me, I heard from 2 different people, Ken, that you were their tour guide. Maybe 3 different people that I've heard. Oh yeah, Ken, he just went around and told everything. They said so. Instead of paying for a tour guide, they just had Ken with them yesterday, and so that went really well. So I was thankful that you guys were still able to do that. We didn't have to cancel anything. I'm thankful for Brother Daniel and his ability to be able to do that, drive the bus yesterday, and all those good things. I did not. I have not had any of it yet because when it got to my house, I had just eaten, and so it was. And I'd had pizza for 2 days already. But Jerry ate it, and he really liked. He not all of it, but he ate some of it, and he really liked it. So yeah, that was good. I appreciate that. So there are some sign-up lists that are out there in the Welcome Center. Make sure you look at those things. Community movie night this Friday night, 8 o'clock out here in the parking lot. If you can come be a part of that, please do. Invite people to come. Looking forward to this. This will be the last one. We've tried to do one June, July, and now August. This is kind of before everybody goes back to school on Monday, although some private Christian schools have already started back, but most public schools start out on Monday, I do believe. Is that right? Okay. So that'll be starting back on Monday. And then Friday night after the movie, the teens are going to stick around and stay and have movie night until 7 o'clock or something like that Saturday morning. So if you have a teenager, be sure you check about that. That will be Friday night. He had it planned, I think it was in the bulletin even, for tonight till tomorrow. But he has, again, some kids have already started school, and so they moved it just to Saturday or Friday night and Saturday so that these other kids could be a part of it as well. And then on Saturday, Brother Bobby is having a young adult hot dog outreach. They've handed out flyers in the neighborhood, invited people to come and get a hot dog. And I don't know. I don't know if it's come and get a hot dog. I think they're going through the neighborhood and going to be passing out hot dogs. Whatever is going on, the young adults are having this hot dog thing. Pray for them, support them. However you can, talk to Brother Bobby. He knows more about that than I do. This Sunday, we're going to be having a back-to-school service on Sunday morning. We're going to kind of have a prayer dedication around our teachers, around our students, and different things that we'll be doing with that. And then Sunday night, Brother Daniel is going to have the teens that went on this mission trip just recently, and they're going to share with us Sunday night about their trip. And I think what he's asked just about all of them to share a little bit, not go for an hour, but go, each one of them, give them time to share a little bit about something that spoke to them from this trip. And so Sunday night will be very interesting. I'm excited about that. Our church has supported them big on this. Their mission trips were paid for. They went in August. Their mission trips were paid for back in April, I do believe. So it's just we have taken good care of them. And so Daniel told them, he said, now listen, church supported you big. You've got to go and share about it. So they're excited about it, and they're coming. They're going to be doing that, and we really need to support them and be here for that. That'd be a good service for you to be here on a Sunday night for that. So we're looking forward to this weekend and all the things that are going on with that. Some prayer requests just to share with you. We still have several unspoken requests that are out there, unsaved family members and loved ones as well. Several are sick besides just my family. There's other people that are sick as well. So pray for those that may be sick. COVID is making its rounds again. Randy's phone is talking to us. I've heard that the nursing home has had a lot of positive cases as well. And just for your information to know where we're at as a church, we do have these air purifiers that we've kept in here for the last several years. We also started today with spraying down again with Lysol, the pews and the seats. So before you came tonight, everything has been sprayed down. We're going to start doing that again for the next little while until this kind of calms down again. I even went through this afternoon and wiped everything down with wet wipes, anesthesia, whatever, the clean whatever things. You know what I'm talking about. Lysol wipes. Wiped everything down with that. So it's been clean today, and we're going to keep doing that for a little while as we go along. So that way we don't plan on shutting down and doing anything, but we are going to try to keep it as safe as we can. And so that's our plans for that. Continue, as I mentioned earlier, continue to pray for my house with the sickness going around there. We are doing some better, but we still have a little ways to go. Brother Dennis Hawkins is home. If you got a one call, he was in the hospital this morning. The first notice that I got that I kind of put out there was his breathing problems. They thought he had some fluid on his lungs. All the tests came back that he did not. He has some heart issues that he's dealing with. And so the doctor sent him home and said he needed to follow up with his cardiologist. So that's what they're waiting for now to do that. So pray for Brother Dennis. He seemed to be doing pretty good, and then all of a sudden this hit him out of the blue, so pray for him. Continue to pray for V. Diaz's mother and sister up in Maryland, Don Edwards, his friends Dean Everett and H.L. Chipman, Abby over in Japan. Everything's going well, but just pray for her in general. Several of our older ladies who have some health issues, Miss Margie McGowan, Miss Barbara Stocks, Miss Brenda Edwards, Miss Juanita Clark, Miss Sandra Buck. I'm sure there's other ones that could be added to that, but just some of our ones that aren't here all the time, just pray for them as they go through these health issues. Miss Roberta Hodges, who's in Ridgewood at the nursing home, pray for her. Eddie Moss and his kidneys, continue to pray for that. Miss Beverly Adams' sister, Pat Meekins, her health issue. Miss Julie Smith's sister, who's in hospice. Lois Corey's boys, Chris and Hardy Jr., and also pray for Hardy Sr. Timothy Webster's mother, who's going through some difficulties. Billy Campbell's sister, who has Alzheimer's. Miss Frida Lewis, my mother-in-law, who is still recovering from surgery as well. Continue to pray for her. Bob Burrows and his health. He has, again, good days and bad days, but continue to pray for him. Steve Foreman's cousin's baby, Nathan Sereno, who had a very difficult birth. We're just kind of keeping him on the list. Continue to pray for him. Miss Betty Lou Ingalls has several different health issues that she's been dealing with here lately. If you'd please pray for her as well. Miss Sharon Horton's daughter-in-law, who has been diagnosed with lung cancer. Erica Orman's grandmother, Miss Shirley Rowan, who's still recovering from hip surgery as well. Jimmy Cherry, a friend of Dorothy Barber, who's recovering from hip surgery. Anything else that I missed or needed to add to this? Yes, sir, Phil? Current as I have right now, I was there a couple weeks ago before I was gone and then got sick and those things, but she is pretty much confined to her chair. She does get up a little bit with help. She cannot walk on her own. Now her mind is fine. It's just her body doesn't work. This ALS is not doing well with her. She has a little pad about that size that she uses, and she'll write on it. And so you can talk to her and ask her questions. You can't talk to her on the phone, so if you're going to talk to her, you have to be there. But she can answer, and she can write down some stuff on there and talk to you. But she is just pretty much confined to her chair pretty much most of the time right now. So, yeah. All right, anything else?
Family of Faye Corey, she passed away earlier in the week.
Faye Corey?
Visitation is tomorrow at 10:30 tomorrow morning at the Popular Home, and the funeral is tomorrow at 12.
Okay. All right. So Faye Corey's family, she passed away earlier this week. Okay. Yeah, she did pass away. That's what she was saying. All right. Anything else? Yes. All right. Miss Margie Woolard has biopsies done. She gets some results on Friday. So if I can, I'm going to put this here. I'm going to add her to kind of a regular list. We need to pray for her regularly as well. All right. All right. Well, let's pray and we'll get started here tonight. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you so much for all that you've done for us, all that you're continuing to do for us. And Lord, sometimes all we see is the negative and the bad, but God, help for us to look for the good, because you're in a whole lot of things, a whole lot more good than there are bad. And so, God, I pray that you will help us to see the good that you do for us every day and the blessings that you give us, Lord, just the air that we breathe, the fact that we woke up this morning, the fact that we have people we can talk to and walk and have sunshine and air. And God, there's so many things that you have blessed us with. And so, God, I pray that we will see those things and thank you for it regularly. And God, we appreciate all that you do for us. God, for these requests that we have mentioned here tonight, Lord, I pray that you will be with them. God, there's so many that we have brought up, and most of them have to do with health. God, we have some people that have been going through illnesses and sicknesses, and so, God, I pray that you'll be with them, touch their bodies, help for them to heal quickly. God, there's several who are recovering from different surgeries that they have had. And so, God, I pray that you'll continue to be with them as they recover. I pray that they will have a quick recovery, that the recovery will be complete, and that they won't have any side effects or issues from these surgeries that they've had. And so, God, we just pray for them and their recoveries as well. God, for these other ones that are just different issues that they may be going through as far as hospice and spiritual needs and other things that we have mentioned, Lord. There's just a lot of those things that are going on. And so, God, I pray that you'll be with them as well. God, for the two new ones that we mentioned here tonight, Lord, for the Corey family as they mourn her loss, Lord, I pray that you'll be with this family during this time of loss. And God, we just pray that you'll comfort them. God, for Miss Margie, we pray that as she waits for these results from this biopsy, that she'll get the news that she's looking for, that things will go well. God, I pray for David and Jeannie as they are caring for her and watching out for her, Lord. I pray that you will just give them strength as well. God, we just ask for your continued protection of Abby in Japan and our other missionaries that are all over the world, Lord, and the things that they go through. God, for those that may be going through COVID or other sicknesses right now, Lord, it's just all over the place. God, I ask for your health for them. God, we thank you for the blessings that you give us. And God, we ask for you to be in our class tonight in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, I know you missed this last week, but I do have a bad joke of the day. I tried these out on Bobby today, so I thought it was pretty good. So his reaction is what I was looking for. So here we go. You ready for this? When do you go at red and stop at green? When do you go at red, stop at green? I knew if anybody in here would know what we're talking about, Jesse would. It's when you're eating a slice of watermelon. When it's red, you eat it, and when it's green, you stop. Well, that was good. I'm glad you got it, because I was going to say, Jesse, you didn't know this one? But I'm glad you said that. All right. Why do fish swim in salt water? Because pepper water would make them sneeze. See, the first one Bobby liked. The second one Bobby was like, oh. So that was good. All right. I want to continue as we look at apologetics and look at different things. If you got a paper in the back, there are some fill-in-the-blank things. There's some stuff that goes with tonight's lesson. There's also a second sheet on there that I attached to that of some questions that I found that could be asked to skeptics, agnostics, atheists. There's 30 questions. And if you read through it, it's very interesting, and it's very interesting to see what your answers would be to all of those 30 questions. But those are some questions that you can look at and study and kind of make sure that you know what your answers should be and would be. And then, if you're talking to someone, these are questions that you can ask. But tonight what I want to do is there's 12 different lessons. We're on lesson 11. And this is our first one that we're talking about, lesson 11, but we're talking about atheism and agnosticism. But before we get into atheism and agnosticism, I want to, can you tell me, what does orthodoxy mean? I looked these things up. You hear about orthodox and orthodoxy. You hear about these things a lot. So I looked these things up. So orthodoxy is authorized or generally accepted theory, doctrine, or practice. So your orthodoxy would be an authorized, generally accepted things that you do. So these are what's authorized. These are what people accept. This is what is to be. And unorthodoxy, on the opposite side of that, would be the quality of being contrary to what is usual, traditional, or accepted. So you're going against what is accepted. So orthodoxy is more of things that are accepted. Unorthodoxy is things that are not generally accepted. And so you're going against those things. Well, and those things will play into, if I wanted to throw those out there at the beginning here, because as we go through this stuff, you may reference back to that a little bit. But so far in our study that we've looked at in the first 10 parts of this lesson, we've shown that it's reasonable, in looking at these lessons and looking at these studies that we've done, it's reasonable to believe that the documents and ideas central to Christianity, the Bible, different things that we study, that the criticisms of the Bible and Christianity are weak and unconvincing. So the ideas that are central to Christianity, the documents like the Bible that is central to Christianity, these things that we believe, the criticisms of those beliefs that people will have of us are not, they're just criticisms. But they're weak criticisms. They don't have any bite to them. We let them have bites to them because we get offended or we get mad or we don't know the answers to, but they don't really have a whole lot of teeth to them. And part of the apologetic task is to be able to defend what we believe. This is why I've been going through apologetics the last long while, is because we need to be able to know what we believe, why we believe it, and then be able to share those things as well. But also another part of the apologetic task is not just being able to defend, but also ready to be on the offense. Be able to and again, I want you to understand, I'm not talking about you need to be able to attack, but you need to be able to have some offense of your own. You don't just sit back and play defense all the time. You need to be able to have some offense of your own. Over the next couple of weeks, what we're going to be looking at is we will take the offensive. And again, offensive, not that I called you a bad name and you're offended by that. That's not what I'm talking about. This is a basketball team goes on offense, all right? Try and score, try to win, all right? So we're going to take the offensive, and our task is to show how weak and unbiblical unorthodoxy is. How weak and unbiblical unorthodoxy is. Again, that definition of unorthodoxy, the quality of being contrary to what is usual, traditional, or accepted. And you think about that. You think back in your day. So we have a lot of older ones that are in this class. Think back to your day. I remember, and I brought this up before, and this is nothing new, but you remember I Love Lucy? They're a married couple, yet they still did not sleep together on the TV show. When they went into the bedroom, they were in two separate beds with something in between the beds, and they were there. That's how they went to bed. They didn't. But nowadays, they've gone contrary to the usual traditional or accepted view of looking at things. Oh man, you can do anything you want to now. I mean, it's hard to look at. Prime time used to be protected between, we're in Eastern time zone, so between 8 and 11, I guess, would be prime time here. And so prime time used to be a protected slot when they were showing things. They didn't show things. The language was clean. They didn't show other things and stuff that you shouldn't be seeing. And now it's like you can't even tell. And so, again, the quality of being contrary to the usual traditional or what is accepted. So people are headed that direction very much so. So what we'll start with tonight is we'll start looking at examining atheism and agnosticism through lesson 11. Tonight we're just going to kind of look more at atheism and not even get all the way through all of this tonight. So a question that I want to ask you is this: can anyone be certain that God does not exist, or that you can't know whether or not he exists? Can anyone be certain that God does not exist? Okay. So, devil's advocate, can you prove that he does? But if I'm playing devil's advocate and I'm looking around, I see the evidences of evolution going great. I mean, it's continuing to move forward. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about here? Okay. Okay. That was a Ken Ham thing that we looked at, your foundation, how you build your foundation. Again, what I've talked about even before, our biblical worldview that is important to have in what we believe and why we believe it. Okay. You would think everything would be getting better if there was evolution. I still, my biggest problem with evolution still is, why did it stop? If monkeys were turning into humans, why did it stop? I don't see evidences of that today. So why did it stop doing that? I don't see half man, I see some hairy men, but I don't see some half men, half monkeys. And so, why does it, so that really gets me with those things, because it can't be proven, it can't be shown. But people cannot be certain, 100% certain, that God does not exist. The Bible says that skepticism about God is a result of mind suppressing what we know to be true. We know it's true, but we're just suppressing it, holding it back in our minds, saying, no, that can't be true. I'm not going to do that. It tells us in Romans chapter 1, verse 20, which is the verse I put with this, for his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world. Again, creation of the world. And the things that have been made, so they are without excuse. Yes, sir.
You mentioned Ken a while ago.
Yep.
When you guys go to the ark, the first thing you're going to see is a film by him.
Yep.
And it is good.
The Ark Encounters are a really good look at a lot of those things. They show how God's attributes are there. And so what I was looking at when I was looking at this verse, for his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power, divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world. This is the Old Testament. It's talking about the creation of the world. And there are a lot of people who will say, yes, I believe that God created the world. I believe that God could go out there and create something that explodes, and over millions and millions of years, it develops into what we have. So people believe that evolution can be true, but that God started it because they believe in God and that God created. God created this first thing that started the whole evolutionary process. And they'll believe those things and go through there. You have to be careful. Some people say, oh, God created. You have to be careful. What do you believe about how God created? Now me personally, I am a young earther, which what that means to me is that God created it in 24 literal hours. When he said it's in day one, I believe it was 24 hours. I believe that the earth is around 6,000-ish years old. I don't believe that it's much more than that. I don't believe it's any less than that. I believe that's where it's at. Millions of years, I don't believe that. I believe that God created things like they were. It's sort of like I believe that God created the chicken before the egg. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? I believe the chicken came first. Why? Because if you created the egg, who's sitting on the egg? Right? Well, who's going to bury it in the sand? The chicken can't bury it in the sand if the chicken's not there yet. So the whole thing is we see these things and how, there you go. Somebody asked you, who came first, chicken or the egg? All right, you guys got me thrown off here. So that's where looking at these things, you have to be careful. You have to watch out for. Atheism is the belief that there's no God. The word literally means no Godism. Theism is God. No theism, no God, no Godism. That's where it's at. We have no Godism. We live in an age when people are very skeptical of claims that cannot be proven to be true. See, somebody will say, look, I didn't do it. Nobody saw me do it. You can't prove anything. And people will believe if there is not a proof that it happened, you can't prove that it's true. And people are skeptics and they look at these things. Our culture also places a high value on science and technology. That's the world that we live in today. And so we look at science and technology, which have, to the modern mind, removed the need for God. We don't need to have God because science can explain it all. Science can tell us what's there. And so we don't have to have God. Scientists can explain nearly every phenomenon that man encounters. So there's no need for God because science can tell us why this happened or what's going on here or how come we have hurricanes that go this way and how come we have tornadoes that form over here. They can't tell you when they're exactly going to happen, but they can tell you what the atmosphere looks like. It could happen. And so we have these things out there. So why do we need God when we have scientists? Clinging to a belief in God is proof that one is unable to deal with the truth that we live in an impersonable universe ruled not by a sovereign God, but by the laws of nature. And see, that's what people will say. You're clinging to a God. It's not there. There's nothing there. Science yields no evidence that God exists. In fact, science clearly asserts that God does not exist, is what they'll say. Again, I'm not saying this is true. I'm saying science will say there is no evidence that God exists. Science will clearly assert that God does not exist because there's no evidence that he exists. Therefore, there cannot be a God because there's no evidence that he exists. There's just not enough evidence to affirm the existence of him, is what the atheist claims. There's not enough evidence to prove that he's there, so you can't say that it's true. A philosophy that is closely associated with atheism is called naturalism. Atheists are usually naturalists, and those things kind of combine together. Atheist, naturalist, they combine together. Naturalism teaches that nothing exists outside the material, natural order. Nothing is out here that exists that we cannot see. Everything is right there in the order that's supposed to be. The material universe is the sum of all reality. There's nothing else besides that. It's just this material universe that you can see. Basically, what they're saying is what you see is what you get. There's nothing else there. What you see is what you get. You can't get anything else from that. That's it, the end. They say there's no supernatural realm. There's no gods, no angels, no devil, nor demons. Nothing beyond that which occurs naturally. And this is just off of my head here, but you know the verse that I have talked about and we've looked at, we battle not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers of this evil world, things that we don't see. But naturalists and atheists says there's no such thing as that. There's no such thing as these things. There's nothing that goes beyond which occurs naturally. There's nothing else out there. They say the material universe has always existed. No God created it. No God sustains it. It's always been. This material universe that's there, it's always been. Nobody's created it. It's just there. Miracles are impossible because they're supernatural, i.e. outside the boundaries of natural order, and so therefore they can't exist because they're not in the material world. So we can't say that there's miracles. Miracles are impossible is what people will say. They also say that man has no soul, no spiritual existence, nor is there life after death. When you die, it's over. The end. You're dead. That's it. Man is the result of a purposeless and natural process that did not have him, the man, in mind. It's just something that happened. Here we are. Out of the blue, you're just a random person that just happened to be there. No purpose, no design, you're just there. And when you die, you go back to nothing. Yes. I don't believe it, but go ahead.
People that believe in evolution from monkeys and all, they can believe it. But if monkeys turn into humans, why are they still monkeys?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If evolution is true, why is it not still happening? You know, why do we still have monkeys if they're all turning into this? And why is there not half monkey, half person? And why are we not going through those processes now? I just don't understand it. But, you know, this whole thought of naturalism, of atheism, of all of these things, is there is nothing else out there. There's nothing for it. And I like this little thing. It says, and you, well, you're just lucky to be here, aren't you? Because there's no purpose for you. You're just lucky to be here. You're just lucky that you're around. Nothing else is going on. Humans are mere animals or machines who inhabit a universe ruled by chance, whose behavior and thoughts are determined by the constant and impersonal forces of nature and environment. You're just ruled by chance. You're just here. And there's nothing personal that's out there that's forcing anything upon you. It's just how it is. It's the laws of nature. Nature is in control. It's never necessary to seek an explanation for events beyond the natural realm because there's nothing beyond the natural realm. There's nothing in addition to the natural realm. It's just what you see is what you get. There's nothing else out there is what people will say. Atheists will tend to focus on the here and now rather than on the eternal because to them, there is nothing eternal. Again, when you die, you're dead. So why do they need to focus on the eternal when they just focus on the here and now? They often are convinced, or they often are concerned about the quality of the human existence. There's a lot of people, atheists even, who go out there and try to help others. I mean, there's good people that are atheists. I mean, just because they don't believe in God doesn't mean they're bad people. Can be some really good people. They're not following God. They're not doing what God asked them to do. There's a man, Frank Zellner. He's a current member of the American Atheists, and he wrote this. He said, as human beings, we are social animals. Our sociality is the result of evolution, not choice. Natural selection has equipped us with nervous systems which are peculiarly sensitive to the emotional status of our fellows. So because of natural selection, we as humans, as animals, have been chosen to have this nervous system that's sensitive to others' emotions. That's why we care about other people. Among our kind, emotion, because animals don't have this, just among us as humans, emotions are contagious. And it is only the rare psychopathic mutants among us who can be happy in the midst of a sad society. It is our nature, fortunately, to seek happiness for our fellows at the same time as we seek it for ourselves. Our happiness is greater when it is shared. So this is what Frank Zilder is saying about us, is like, we're just animals, and because we've been naturally selected, we have emotions that want us to help other people. And so when we're trying to better ourselves, we want to help better someone else because it makes us feel good. It makes them feel good. And that's why we do it. That's it. That's no other reason for that. Our happiness is greater when it's shared, so that's why we do it. Because they believe that life is strictly limited to our earthly existence. There's nothing else out there. Some atheists seek to make their life and the lives of others as rich and as enjoyable as possible. That's what they want to do because there's nothing else out there. So we need to enjoy this the best we can, get along together, have some morals, have some laws, have some rules, do things together to help each other. That's why you'll see a lot of people that are out there besides just Christians that are helping others. There'll be some non-Christians organizations that are out there helping people because they want to get along and they want to do these things. Obviously, from just looking at some of these things, atheism and naturalism are in stark opposition to Christianity. They're different. We look at life, our worldviews are different. Everything about these things are different around us. So, a rhetorical question here is, how should we respond to those who hold these philosophies? So how should we as Christians respond to those people who are atheists, naturalists, and respond to those philosophies? Well, the first thing we should do is this. We should encourage them to examine their presuppositions. All right? So we need to encourage them to examine their presuppositions. So, first thing I had to do, what is a presupposition? All right? We got to look at what is a presupposition? What does that mean? All right? You guys may be a whole lot smarter than I am, but I looked this up because I wanted to make sure that I was going on the same trail that I wanted to be going on and not going off somewhere else into the woods and get lost. All right? Presupposition, an unproven starting point for all arguments. Can't prove it, but it's my starting point. Like in math, there are various laws, axioms that everything else is based on. In math, you have to do it like this. Everyone starts with a certain presupposition in math. I can't subtract 2 apples if I don't have but 1. So my presupposition, if I say you have 2 apples and you take away, presupposition is I have 2 apples. You have to have those 2 apples. So basically what it's saying is 1 plus 1 does not equal 3. Because if you only have 2, you can't have 3. That's a presupposition. It's what we have here. These presuppositions may be reasonable. They may be irrational. They may not make sense. So we have to ask atheists, naturalists, hey, listen, take a good look and examine your presuppositions, what you believe. You believe that evolution is real. You believe that these things happen. You believe that there is no God. You believe that these things are out there. Let's take a look. Just take a quick look at the things that you believe. Dive down into those things that you believe, and let's kind of mix it up just a little bit and look at those things. See, the Christian must not allow, and I put this on your paper, I do believe, because I wanted you to get this, and if you didn't write it down, I wanted you to have it on paper, so I put it there. The Christian must not allow the atheist to think that the steps by which he came to atheism are in any way superior to the steps by which a Christian comes to a theistic point of view. We cannot allow an atheist to believe they're superior than us because they believe it like this and we believe it like this, so they're better than we are. We can't go. Yes, you can defense of what we're looking at through this study is defending our faith, defending what we, but we need to have some offense as well. We can't let them think they're superior to us. So we challenge them, hey, take a look at your presuppositions. Take a look at these things that you believe to be true, and let's take a look at that, because there's no more proof to support atheism or naturalism than there is to support theism. They don't have more proof that theirs is true than what we have. They can't say, oh yeah, you guys just have this much and we have this much. No, that's not true at all. Reality is probably the other way around, but we can't go on and just say, oh yeah, well you guys, I'm just a stupid one that believes in God. No. We can't have that mindset. We can't have that attitude. Science does not somehow compel open-minded people to become atheists. Sin does. Science doesn't push people to atheism. Sin pushes them to atheism. And we need to understand those things. It's impossible for anyone to prove that nothing exists outside the boundaries of nature. It's impossible. Oh, you believe that there's life after death and there's God and there's demons and angels around? You can't prove to me that there's not. Well, you prove to me that there is. Well, you prove to me that there's not. I mean, you can go back and forth. I know you are, but what am I? I know, I'm rubber, you're glue, whatever you say. You can do all those things. But it doesn't matter because it can't be proven. You can't say that. People become atheists because the idea of God does not suit them. Not because of evidence, not because of proof, not because of science, or not because of sound reasoning, but because they don't want to be part of that church. They don't want to be part of that religion. It's more of a religious sentiment or a hatred thereof than an intellectual conclusion drawn from the facts. Basically, people are atheists because something happened in their life to where they got mad at this so-called God that they say, and so because they're mad because he didn't do what they wanted him to do, he must not exist, therefore they're going to be atheists. But it's not based on science, it's not based on any of these other things, it's just based on hatred and anger is what they do. And so they throw those things out. I didn't have a good life, and so there must not be a God. When encouraging them to look at their presuppositions, have them look at, first of all, the weaknesses of naturalism, the weaknesses of it. So as we look at this, it's utterly impossible to prove that nothing exists outside the boundaries of the natural realm. It's impossible to prove that. Naturalism is a statement of faith, not of reason or science. We're saved by faith. I believe I'm going to heaven because of my faith in God. They have faith in theirs. It's the same. It's, what I'm saying? Faith and faith. Their faith is that there isn't anything out there. My faith is there is. Science seems to show that matter is not eternal. If matter is not eternal, then naturalism is invalid. If there ever was a time when nothing existed, then nothing could ever exist. Something could never come from nothing. Now, does that all make sense there? There's a lot of stuff right there in that small little paragraph thing. Science shows that matter is not eternal. Matter is going to die out, fade out, go away. If matter is not eternal, then naturalism is invalid. And if there was ever a time in history of the world of wherever time, history of time, if there ever was a time when nothing existed, nothing at all, then nothing could ever exist now. Because something can never come from nothing. I mean, go home, get you a shoebox, take everything out of it, put the lid on top of the shoebox, shake it for 30 minutes, and open it up and see what you have. And if nothing's in there, put the lid back on it, shake it for 30 more minutes, and open it up. Keep doing that until you have something, and then let me know. All right? You may get something, you may get suddenly appear in there. One of the most basic principles of philosophy confirmed by science, and I can't say this correctly, but is ex nihilo nihil fit, which basically means out of nothing, nothing comes. That is one of the most basic principles of philosophy, and it is confirmed by science. Out of nothing, nothing comes. Now, this article that I was reading about this, there was a guy that was talking of these things, and he said he got some questions and comments about this, that, yeah, it's a basic principle of philosophy, but it hasn't been confirmed by science. Scientists such as Lawrence Krauss and others have proposed that the universe could not have popped into existence from nothing, but they define nothing as okay, they propose that the universe could have popped into existence from nothing, but they define nothing as an energy-neutral quantum field. Okay? So there is something. There's an energy-neutral quantum field out there. This is where this came from. Not really nothing. So if you have to redefine nothing, then you're no longer talking about nothing. Because most people in the entire world, when they say there's nothing there, they mean there's nothing there, not just a little bit of something. Okay? Nothing means nothing. Can you imagine how useless scientific hypotheses and inquiry would be if we expected things to suddenly and causelessly just come into being from nothing? Well, I don't know where that car came from, officer. It just came out of nowhere. Well, who was driving it? They had to come from somewhere. See, we couldn't walk down the road without being very careful that something wasn't just going to pop out in front of us. We'd have to be careful about all of these things. See, a scientific hypothesis would not be any good anymore. We also have to get them to look at atheism has no answer for the question, why is there something rather than nothing at all? Why is there something? If it all started from nothing, why is there something? So that sounds very like, what? But that's what we're saying here. Listen, why is there something instead of nothing? Because if there was nothing, there should still be nothing. If one event could be proven to have happened outside the boundaries of nature, then naturalism would be finished. Because naturalism says there is nothing outside the boundaries of nature. There's nothing else out there. It's just what you see is what you get. There's nothing else there. But we've already seen at least one supernatural event, and that was the resurrection of Christ, which is well supported by substantial proofs of people seeing him alive before, saw him die, saw him dead, saw him alive after. There's people, Christians, non-Christians, who have wrote about these things. There is proof of those things, so that should tear down some of those walls. It's assuming that they believe the Bible, but you can read from others, non-Christians, Josephus and others who have wrote of those things. So it's not just biblical one book that you could get that evidence from. There's other things. We also get them to look at or consider naturalism cannot adequately explain how mind, Knowledge, reasoning, and morality arises from random, mindless, natural processes. If it's a mindless, natural process that just occurs, how do we have our minds, and how do we have knowledge, and how are we able to reason like we do? Why do we have morality? If everything just came from a mindless, natural process, why do we have all these things? Atheists must assume that the personal somehow arose from the impersonal. That somehow the reason that we love each other, the reason that we talk, the reason why we get excited about when someone else has something good in their life, why we cry when someone else has something bad go on, why we have those things that happen, the personal things that happen. How do these things come from something that's impersonal that just happened? Why do we even care that someone got a job? Why do we care that they lost their job? The personal from an impersonal. We also need to get them to look at the natural world as exceedingly complex and sophisticated, especially when viewed by an electron microscope. Can you imagine that? Such complexity argues a purely mechanical origin for all things. DNA, for example, is so extremely complex that it's hard to believe that it was developed without a designer. The DNA that you have to put these things together just right so that you can have skin, so that you can have hair, so that you can see, so that you can have these things. It has to be just right, but it came from nothing. How can those things happen? We also need to get them to really look at how naturalism generates pessimism and despair. Life is meaningless if we live in a cold, impersonal, indifferent universe. Why? What's the purpose of our life? Why should we do these things? Why should I help someone else? Why should I even care what's going on in Russia and Ukraine? Why? I mean, it doesn't affect me. I'm over in the United States. Why should I even care? Why should I think that one is right and one is wrong? Why should I be there? We also need to get them to look that good and evil can have no meaning for naturalists because, as one atheist has stated, man is an empty bubble on a sea of nothingness. That's how one atheist described man. So we have to see that, listen, good and evil can have no meaning. Because if there's no moral that supports these things, if there's no creator that said this is how we need to do these things, if there's nothing there, then who says that you're right and that I'm wrong? Maybe I just want to kill somebody, and that's be okay with me. And who are you to tell me that it's wrong? I mean, why not? See, we have to be careful in these things of how we look, because if you're going to view the world through that lens, through that world view, good and evil have no meaning. Everything is doom and despair, because where are you going to get happiness? Happiness is, I guess we have to fight for it if we want it, but if we don't want it, then so what? But listen, as you encourage the atheist to examine their presuppositions about atheism, also we need to encourage them to examine the arguments for the existence of God. So 2 things we need to get them to look at. One, look at what you believe. Look at what you really believe. You're saying this. This is what you're saying you believe. Just get them to look at it. You may not convince them, may not change their mind, but have them really take a good look at it. Encourage them to look at those things. But then also, second, encourage them to, hey, look at some arguments that show that God does exist. Would you look at that with me? Let's look at these things together. And next week, what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of the arguments for the existence of God that we can share with the atheist. Not stuff that, not necessarily stuff that we've already talked about that, Darren. Well, we have in a way, but we're looking at it in a different light through this. Because now we're trying to be on the offensive and be able to share it with someone else and say, look at this. You need to know what you believe, but here, I want to be able to share with you why you should. So that's what we're looking at. So next week, we'll look at some of the arguments that we can ask the atheist to examine for the existence of God. And so that's where we'll go into next week. All right? Again, we study these things and we look at these things so that we can have a stronger belief in what we believe. But not only that, and listen, it's not just for you to have a stronger belief in what you believe. That is one step. But the overall thing here is so that you can go and share that with someone else. Defend what you believe, but also do a little offense. Say, hey, listen, I'm not just going to sit back here and defend myself all the time. You look at some stuff here. You examine some of these things. And that's why I gave you those 30 questions as well, so that you can use those things and answer them yourself, but also those are questions to ask others. You know, and some of them make pretty good sense when you start going through some of the questions on them. All right? Let's pray and we'll get out of here tonight. God, thank you so much for your word. We thank you for the evidences that we can have. But God, I pray that we will learn this stuff so that we can share this stuff. And God, not just hold it to ourselves, but God, I know we all probably know someone who is not a Christian. Family members, co-workers, neighbors that need to know more about you. And God, help for us to go on the offense and go and share you with others. God, help for us to reach out to those, because God, I believe that we're getting close to a time when you're going to be coming back. And so, God, we need to have a sense of urgency about us to share you with others so that there can be more people in heaven. God, our job, I read this the other day, our job is to make heaven crowded. And so, God, I pray that we will do our job like we're supposed to be doing.